At the end of the last quarter of last year, I spontaneously decided I was going to make a video game from beginning to end, just a complete experience, no prior experience coding anything of significance, just me making a video game. It was because one of the communities I was a part of, someone organized what's called a game jam. So if you're a musician, you jam with people. If you're a game designer or you think you would like to make a game, you can do it as a part of a collective of people. You know, there's usually like a prompt and a time frame for making it a game. And the prompt can be like, this has to be a scary game, so it could be the scary game jam, or it could be about puzzles. But this game jam, the only objective was to make a game that runs on old computers. So before there was Windows, just a black screen, and you type in the name of your game, and it pops up. It's called DOS, which is a disk operating system. An operating system is Windows or Mac, but before Windows or Mac, there was just a black screen, and there was an operating system that you could type things in. It was very bare bones. That idea was really interesting to me because there's only about 7,000 DOS games in existence. If you think about today's gaming market, there's millions of games out there. I like the challenge for a lot of reasons. One, because vintage stuff is fun. Retro stuff is cool. It can be a hobby for people like myself. The calling to use tools that are very limited and very crude to design something in a world where you could choose literally anything to make your game felt really appealing to me. So I just launched right into it with about 130 other participants. And we were communicating over Discord, sharing our progress and our schemes. And we had about a month to kind of think about it, what we were going to do, what tools we are going to use. And there's a lot of people doing raw code stuff I don't understand at all. I have a mind that's geared more towards feelings and paintings and poetry than functionality. So I chose a tool, a software development tool, so I didn't have to code very much. I could just put pictures into a game and animations, things I know how to do. So and immediately a lot of ideas came rushing forward because this is one of my fantasies is game design. Video games are kind of like this thing that wormed their way into my being as kind of part of my ego and identity, and part of the way I relate to other humans. Just like music is important to people, or painting, or making money is important to other people. Video games, just as an art, found a home in my identity. I think there was a lot of I can't stories as part of my ego. I can't do that. I'm not smart enough. I don't know how to code. I look at the way things work mechanically, and my brain just turns to peanut butter. So this is kind of a long time coming. I had a month to think about what kind of game I would like to make targeted at old computers. And I thought, hey, I'll contact my friend. If you were like a musician and you had a musician friend, it's the same kind of minded person as me. And so I linked brains with them, and I was like, give me some ideas, some stories, some doodles. Here's the tools I'm looking at using. One of the tools was a game that looks like Doom, the very first person shooters, but there's nothing really 3D about it. It's like you're shooting billboards of people, and running around with a gun in your hand. I thought I could do something unconventional in that sort of world. And then I looked at the tools and decided that the tools were too limited for what I was hoping to make. What I knew I was going to do is going to cram a bunch of art into an old computer. And I just thought that the first person shooter version would be not enough of me. And then I found another tool which makes games King's Quest, Leisure Suit Larry, point and click adventures. And I thought I could do one like that. and also the game Myst, which was a very popular game of its day. It's one of the first games that people went out to buy a CD-ROM drive just to play it because it was full of media, 3D animations, and music, and they just jammed the CD full of visuals and sound. I feel really resonant with that sort of creative endeavor, making a virtual reality, like something that's in me, a story, and bringing it to you, the player. So I decided I'll use this tool called Adventure Game Studio, which you can make this sort of game without being a programmer. The most complicated sort of programming you would need to do is like simple web page programming like HTML, easy to understand for a non-programmer. But I still had to learn the tool and I had to learn which version of that tool to use. So I decided on the type of game and I asked my friend for story ideas. And he came up with um, a monster hunt. Like you're finding monsters and you're cataloging them with an old camera. The game period is the 19 maybe 40s or 1950s, and you go to someone's mansion and they promise you their wealth if you can prove that there's monsters in their mansion. So we went with that idea and immediately started generating ideas for what kind of monsters would you find in this mansion. The images were all computer animated, 3D objects that I animated. That's where the artist side of me, like I already knew how to make CGI. Most people would use Blender for a project like this because that's the popular tool. To kind of go along with the theme, I used old software from like 2003 and made images that look dated but still computer animated because I thought that would go well with the theme of Myst type games that were barely able to be drawn with a computer, and the artist hardly knew what was going to be the end result and had to kind of go with it because they waited a whole day for the computer to draw a single image. I call it try hard CGI. You're doing something that it's like driving blind as an artist. So I went with those limitations, those tools with the game development kit, and it took me a whole month to come to that decision what I was going to do, and that's when the game jam started officially, 2 months before December 1st. For the next 2 months, I worked daily, doing some things I knew how to do, like computer animation, and things I didn't know how to do, like putting that computer animation onto an old DOS computer. And it turns out that it's possible to make that kind of game without being a programmer using tools that exist. And I learned a lot of this through asking large language models and bothering people on forums and Discord who were pretty generous with their knowledge of legacy software, weird old stuff that I did not know exist. I felt the call to this adventure of things I've never done before, and some things that probably have never been done before. The end result was that I did go across the finish line with something. I created a game that you can find all 12 monsters in a mansion, and the graphics kind of look like something from 1993 on the computer, and people played it. It was about like 39 people finished their game. That adds to the total number of DOS games in existence, which is about 7,000. So now there's like 7,040 DOS games. Um,
That's a cool story.
yeah, I got to be a part of that and watch people react in real time to my game. With there's like a floating hand, and the hand goes around, and that's your mouse, and you can click on things. And I tried to make it easy. Myst is like full of puzzles that are really too complicated. I say too complicated because most people, I think, at this time, if they were to play a game like Myst, they wouldn't have the patience just because the graphics look old. They wouldn't want to figure out the puzzle with the match, the thing with all these gears and um, reading a book in a library and finding the right page and tearing it out and then writing notes on your own desk in person because you're trying to keep up with all the archaic knowledge you're gaining from playing a game. This was just a hide and go seek with monsters. And it was usually fairly obvious what you would be doing because I was just trying to show off my animation and art. So if there's a piano, you click on the piano and it does something. And there's a monster, and then it's obvious where you need to go because the hand gestures this way, that way, or you can click on that. I will say I pretty much had an anxiety attack when I first watched someone play my game, because I spent like 3 months thinking and developing it daily. It's not like a full-time job, but it's still like 3 months of meditating on something and then having it exposed and watch people react to it. Which there was like all pretty much positive reaction, but I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. It was really scary to be seen, and maybe that's part of my ego saying, "Don't be seen. You're not supposed to be seen." So it was a total rush. Now I'm bummed out and sad and looking forward to whatever else catches me off guard and whisks me away on some adventure that I have to say yes to. Having this interview with you is helping me reflect on maybe the last 4 months of my life and how spontaneous it was. And I really don't have a desire to live life that way. I'm not gonna wait for the next thing to like happen. I wanna like force it. I wanna be like, all right, the next adventure happens now. That's why I'm wearing this hat.
Why?
It's just an adventure to say yes to something tonight and be like, "Yeah, I'll wear a freaking silly hat and talk in this Barbie mic stand in front of this weird alien equipment."
Whatever, you have it too.
I know. This is the same setup I have at home. I have a project unfinished, and my next call to adventure, which has become clear to me that I need to finish this project. It's a VR recreation of a DOS game I like, where the world is all 3D. You can see objects from all angles if you wanted to, but there are only so many polygons you can put in a game that old. I recreated all the entire game in 3D objects, and now I am trying to integrate modern day virtual reality with this old game in a way that can be co-experienced with multiple people. I am pretty far into the project. I put it aside to do Monster Mansion 3D, the game I just made. Did a lot of kind of planning and scaffolding of how I might accomplish that in maybe the next month or two. So Monster Mansion you can actually play from a website called itch.io, which is where people put their video games. Monster Mansion 3D is on my independent video game developer website. Yeah, so I got Yopachi, which is just the name I invented with the internet came around, and I was Yopachi. I was like 13 years old. I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and that's all my social media is Yopachi at YouTube and at Itch. Video games aren't boring, and life isn't boring. There you go.
Video games aren't boring.
Yeah.
Do you know how to edit video?
Yeah.
What do you use?
A Vegas?